are relevant for our work. Firstly, we are committed to achieve that all displaced people have access to sustainable energy, for example, for cooking or for electricity by 2030. So we have 9 more years to go. And when we talk about displaced people, we mean the about 85 million people that are currently refugees, migrants, and internal displaced people, most of them having a very poor energy access situation, but we're also talking about their host communities who often live in a very similar situation. And the second part of our work is we're also working on solutions to decarbonize humanitarian actions and therefore reduce their impacts to the global climate crisis through renewable and energy efficient solutions. One of our activities within the GPA is to bring people together in many different events, such as in workshops, in webinars, in conferences, you name it, to inform either the wider public about our goals and about the needs, or to develop concrete solutions. We are organizing about 1 or 2 events per week, such as event like this. However, the event today is very special and different for us. Too often in our work, within the global humanitarian and development spaces, we're talking about displaced people, but we do not hear their voices on this global level. And I'm saying this with a self-critical reflection on our past work. The opinions and ideas of displaced communities are often marginalized and not included in a public discourse. This event really aims to be different and start changing this in our activities. We want to make sure that displaced people are included in the decision-making process, and we want to do our part to bridge the gap between these high-level discussions we see on a global level and the lived realities of displaced people on energy access on the ground. And we know this isn't easy, as many displaced people are living in fragile, remote, or insecure places, and we will hear about this from our panelists later on. However, we want to make sure within the GPA community that no one is left behind in this clean energy transition just because he or she is currently living in a displacement setting. This shouldn't happen. And for this, I'm really glad we are able to partner with 2 great organizations for this event. The discussion today will be driven forward by the intellectual leadership and lived experience of refugee and IDP colleagues in the so-called GRN, the Global Refugee-Led Network, and the displaced people who are working currently with the GIZ, with the German Development Agency, both of whom are co-hosts of this event. And I really like to take this opportunity to thank you both for your support and engagement in this event. The GRN represents a global network of refugees and refugee-led initiatives to bolster refugees' ability to make meaningful contributions to decision-making. And our GIZ colleagues, on the other hand, are here today from the so-called GIZ-UNHCR ESDS program, which stands for Energy Solutions for Displacement Settings, which is supporting concrete and state-of-the-art sustainable energy delivery models within refugee communities in Kenya, Uganda, and Ethiopia. The focus of our discussion today will be to hear from refugees and other displaced people on the topic of green jobs, energy for enterprises, and connectivity for livelihoods. As we know, energy is essential. We could not have this online meeting without electricity, nor could we cook our food without access to proper cooking fuels and technologies. And energy is as important in refugee camps and displacement settings as it is for us here today on this call. The climate crisis emphasizes also how essential it is to meet the twin aims of reducing emissions from energy sources, while also ensuring a just and sustainable energy access for displaced people. We have to ensure that no one is left behind in this global clean energy transition agenda. Global actions to reduce emissions and supply clean energy access must be immediate and substantive. As many of you know, in the coming days, UNHCR will host the high-level officials meeting with 1 dedicated spotlight session on humanitarian energy and climate action. It will take place tomorrow at 1:30 European time, Central European time, and you can find the details for this event on the UNHCR website. In co-hosting this event today, on green jobs, we hope to demonstrate the importance of listening to the voices of displaced people directly. And we will make sure we transform the key messages from today into the meeting tomorrow. I really like the motto of the Global Refugee Forum network that says nothing about us without us. And in this spirit, I'd like to urge my humanitarian and development colleagues and energy colleagues as well to adopt the mindset of including displaced people in their work. So nothing about displaced people without them, if I may adopt your slogan, your motto. Our world must change, both to address the climate emergency and also to open more spaces on a global level for displaced people. It is our duty, we feel our duty for these spaces and allow the change. In conducting events like this one today, we acknowledge this responsibility. We are creating and facilitating this space to listen to refugees and displaced people directly, amplifying their voices and opinions. At the same time, we are moving aside while they and strive simultaneously to support displaced people in their actions led by them. With that in mind, I really like to hand over to our facilitator and like to introduce her, Anila Noor. Anila is one of the strategic leads and a steering group member of the Global Refugee-Led Network. And Anila is also a refugee activist, a TEDx speaker, and a researcher, originally from the Kashmiri Pakistani heritage, but now based in the Netherlands. Anila's family was displaced from occupied Indian Kashmir in 1947, leading to becoming refugees. And Anila identifies herself as a feminist ecosystem builder. I really like this term. An advisor, and she's also a policy influencer for inclusion, diversity, and social justice. She recently became a member of the European Commission expert group on the views of migrants and refugees, and she's working as an evaluator for the Asylum, Migration, and Integration Fund. As an advisor and expert consultant, she works with different institutions on designing engagement projects on diversity and inclusion. Anila is also the founder of New Women Connectors, a movement striving to mainstream the unheard voices of migrant and refugee women living across Europe. Anila is dedicated to highlighting the issue of refugee representation gap in Europe and across the globe. She's involved in designing and delivering trainings on refugee meaningful participation, and she is also driven to improve refugee diplomatic skills and capacity. As you can hear, she is full of passion, full of energy, and therefore an ideal setup to facilitate this meeting today. Anila, over to you. Thank you very much for giving us the pleasure to.
Thank you, Thomas. Good morning, good afternoon, and maybe good evening in different parts of the world. It's such a pleasure to moderate this session. I'm super excited because, you know, the reason we really, as a refugee, we know the importance to talk about this issue and not to have distance on this issue of energy. And I'm super excited to take the lead, and I'm super happy to the panelists, because when I was going to the bio of the panelists and when we have prep call, I felt so I need to give more voices to you, the work you are doing, coming from around the world, and even you are working on a local level, but you are already in the future. You are thinking about how to make a future more inclusive, more equally distributed everywhere. So I'm super happy. So I will not talk a lot, which I do most of the time, but I would like to introduce to my panel. And we have an amazing panel coming across from all around different displacement settings. So we have Mrs. Makunda Sekiti, and she is from Congo, and she arrived in Kakuma refugee camp in December 2019, and she's a trained computer teacher. And she also established a computer training center in the village, and she's trying to build more mini grid in the January. And she just a minute, I lost somehow my points. Yes. So she's amazing, and she's trying to give the understanding through her computer services, such as typing, setting, printing, internet services to her camp, and she's doing amazing work there in Kakuma refugee camp. Welcome, Makunde. Our second panelist, Iman Ghalib Hadi Al Hamali, and she will be speaking in Arabic, and she is one of the main group of 10 women of Friends of Environment. And I must say, when I was going through her video, the work she is doing in German, this is so impressive, and I would like to have a discussion with her about her engagement and how she's trying to change as a woman-led initiative for the bring more inclusive environment and friendly environment in this her domain and to the more difficult environments such as German. And she will be speaking Arabic, and we have a good facilitator who will be translating to my conversation to her and her conversation for us. So thank you so much for your correspondence. Then we have Malia Peter, and also a South Sudanese resident who is a resident of Wimbuima village of Morocco country in central state, where she is currently a refugee for second time in Uganda, who host a great number of refugees currently, and she is dedicated as a businessman. Sorry, he is a dedicated businessman, and with the eight experience is electricity, food necessaries, and he is currently working with Icon Electronics Repairing Center, Rihona Camp, as a manager of the energy kiosk, and his kiosk is supported by GIZ. Welcome, Alia Peter. I'm super happy to have you. And lastly, we have amazing our colleague Jolia Haji, who is a refugee currently residing in Kenya, and she is originally from Democratic Republic of Congo, and she has a BA in business communication from Southern New Hampshire University, and she's working in different research capacities with UNHCR Africa Office, Oxford Refugee Studies Center, and University of Geneva and Human Rights Department, and many more. And I was so happy to have you here with you. So this is a short, very short introduction of my panelists. You can see the diversity, the inclusion, the gender lens, the intersectional lens we want to talk about, because we believe nothing about us without us. Thank you so much. So I will start my first question with Julia, because it's for us as a refugee representative, refugee initiator, we believe we can't talk about the solution, we can't talk about the recommendation if we don't have a right answer for the right question. So I would like to know what you think, what is actually energy, how we define energy from our lens, from refugee lens, and what is energy, how we can unpack the challenge of defining it so we can understand what is energy, because it's as a term it's a big thing. So what do you think, how we can define it? Julia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Noor, for giving me this opportunity, and thanks so much for the introduction. To respond to your question, what is energy? Definitely, I know people have different understanding of energy. And for me, I believe that for me, energy is an enabling tool for development. And it's also kind of a catalyst for change, because if we have to look at within the refugee settings or displacement context, we easily understand that energy it's a tool that is needed for people to take action and to stand on their feet and respond to some of the basic needs that probably they're not able to get from the humanitarian supports as well as themselves. And this is something that can open doors for people. Like for me, I look at it as a tool. I look at it as something that enables people to have access to what is available or around them, because we all believe in, as Tom said, like we will not be able to have this conversation if we couldn't have energy or access to electricity. So that thing that it's a basic thing that people need for them to be able to reach other things in the future, like internet and opportunities, like work opportunities, even education that is not available. And I think that's one thing that in a brief way, that's how I can define energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. Yes, indeed. I will go to Iman. So if you could tell us your understanding of energy and how you found it is difficult, but you found opportunity. So how you define energy and the energy related opportunity for, especially for women. Iman.
الناس
الطاقة للناس هي مصدر أساسي جدا، لهذا تعتبر هي المصدر الأساسي لهذه الناس النازحين بالنسبة للنازحين أو اللاجئين.
Of course, energy is a very fundamental and basic need that is important for refugees and IDPs in special to help them cope and help them move on in this situation.
وجاءت هذه الطاقة من خلال النزاعات التي تحدث في اليمن والأوضاع والتدهور الذي أدى إلى الطاقة الشمسية مصدر أساسي للنازحين والمجتمع المضيف واللاجئين.
Of course, due to the situation here in Yemen, the conflict and the pandemic that is happening and the decrease in services, we have a full understanding on the importance of energy. And if it was not for the conflict and the dire needs that is happening here, people would not know the importance of energy, especially solar energy.
Thank you so much, Iman. You talk about very important point. I will go back to Male. I come to you, Male Peter, because Julia and Iman mentioned about the right of have the rights, and when it's come to the energy is a right to have a equal access to the energy. So I would like to know, what is your experience of energy in displacement setting? If you could share how you define it and your challenge. Malia Peter, can you hear us?
Yes. Thank you very much. According to me, energy refers to ability to do a work, because with the energy, it means you can do any work, like when you transfer to emotion, like without energy, a car cannot live. Also, you refer as a light. Without energy, you cannot light. So energy, basically, some kinds of lights, something which can do work, lights, cook stoves. So that is all about the energy. Thank you.
Thank you. And can you define your current, any recent challenge you find, especially in the COVID, this pandemic, you found this is the main challenge you are facing as a person from displacement setting?
Okay. Okay, the challenges I faced here as in the camp, come here, we don't have a power, lights, the electricity is just far from us. So we don't have access to the power. So as refugees, we don't have lights at our houses. We don't light our schools. There is also challenges in like cookings. Let me say, like, it is very difficult for us to get foods to cook for our foods. And also the students, maybe our pupils, it is very hard for them during night hours to also to study because of energy. We don't have a power, we don't have such kinds of lamps or solars.
Thank you, Malia Peter. I was just thinking while you were saying, like, if we don't have power, we don't have electricity, how children can have education? If we don't have internet nowadays, our one panelist, she's facing difficulties in joining, and this is the happens in the displacement situation, that if we don't have equal access to internet, digitalization, so we get more excluded in this kind of discussion. So we hope she can join. I would go to Iman, and I would like to know, because it's about challenges there, and challenges is becoming more difficult. So how we can make our energy as a sustainable solution. So what do you think, sustainable energy is important for refugee and internal displaced people, but how we can make sure it's sustainable, and why you think it's sustainable energy is important for refugee and internally displaced people?
من الصعوبات التي واجهناها من خلال الطاقة هو عدم فرص وجود عمل بالنسبة للنازحين أو المضيف، فجاءت الطاقة الشمسية كفرصة لهم إتاحة للإضاءة في المناطق الحدودية التي نعيش فيها.
One of the challenges that the refugee or IDP communities face here in Yemen is that, first of all, the lack of energy caused multiple or mass unemployment in these communities. And by the energy, we can establish and provide income generating sources for these communities.
كون المنطقة التي يقيم بالمشروع ريفية ولها عادات وتقاليد صارمة تواجه المرأة فيها عاداتنا مجتمعيا قبليا لا يقبل بوجود المرأة في ميدان العمل بشكل عام، وخاصة الأعمال التي تكون هكرا على الرجال.
Of course, she's describing that the environment and the location where this project has been established, it has a tribal and traditional way to not empower women, and there is a monopoly for men only to work in these environments.
فمحطة صديقات البيئة جاءت من مجموعة من الفتيات تنتمي إلى هذا المجتمع.
So this initiative, the Environment Friends or initiative, is an initiative that empowers women to take a leading role in the community and to help them to distinguish their ambitions in this community.
حاجز تخطينا عواقب واجتزنا صعوبات وأحدثنا تغييرا في المجتمع لتنفيذ الطاقة.
Yes, of course, due to this initiative, this made a huge change in the community where women have the role and leadership and empowerment to provide and develop the community itself.
وأصبحنا نموذجا مشرف نطمح كفايتيات المنطقة أن نحظى باستطاعتنا بعزيمتنا وإصرارنا إدارة المشروع بشكل ممتاز والقيام بكافة الأعمال بدقة عالية.
Yes, and due to this initiative, women now are empowered and they have the necessary tools and necessary skills to lead and manage this initiative. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Probably Anila is having some network issue. Let's wait a little.
Seems like Anila, who's based in Europe, has some network issues. I'm really glad that for all the other panelists it's actually working. May I take over for a little moment and go back to Joelle? Joel, we just heard from Iman how important the gender dimension also is when it comes to energy, and how important it is to to crack the monopoly of men, as she said. Is this also your experience in your energy work in Kenya?
Thank you so much, Thomas, for giving me this opportunity once again. And yes, I really agree with what Iman just shared, coming to energy. And personally, from my own experience in Kenya, I can really say that there are so many challenges that people are facing, especially in those who are based in refugee camps. And it's not just because they're not probably in a position or not really willing to, to have access to energy, but because there are so many obstacles or challenges. And this is starting from UNHCR itself, whereby, it's not, energy supplies or, assistance is not, involved or considered as in humanitarian response as one of the ways they can support refugees. I think that's a major challenge that, let me say, refugees are facing in Kenya. And also the fact that they are not even, accommodated in the national grid projects or budget. It's also a major challenge because regardless of how willing or how hard they can try to raise their voices, there are always that dynamics or those challenges that are permanent there, and refugees are facing on daily basis. And considering the fact that the majority of refugee camps are, placed or located in remote areas, there is that fact of infrastructure coming in, whereby even if, let me say, for example, Kenya Power is willing to support or to give out access to clean energy to refugees, there is that poor infrastructure that refugees are in, which can't allow such kind of, let me say, organization to take that risk of extending their operation up to refugee camps. And it's really very challenging. And all in all, I can say the last point is uncertainty of refugee situation. Because looking at the energy suppliers or business people, they always question that aspect of how long or the type of investment we are going to take, and the situation of refugees, which is considered a temporary situation, while the reality is totally different. Refugees are facing or residing in refugee camps for quite long. So there is a controversial kind of statement or reality on what is supposed to, how refugees are supposed to be, approach, what kind of assistance refugees are supposed to get, and for how long. Like that time frame is also a challenge. But I think personally, if we have to step out aside from theory and conspiracy about the refugee situation and go with the reality, displacement is something that is there, and it's a reality, and it's still a circle that people are asking themselves how they can break that circle. And that's a great challenge that even the humanitarian actors, country states, other people, actors are trying to see how to come up with a better approach to address some of the basic issues, some of the basic needs that displaced people needs. And for me, if we have to step aside or aside from the three durable solutions that we all know that are currently available, I think giving refugee access to energy is something that puts them in a situation that they accept the reality and live where they are. That from that I mean being integrated or being in a position to support even the hosting countries, because once there is a response that can enable refugees to to contribute to the national economy, it's something that it's not a threat. Refugees will not be looked at as threats. They will not be looked at as burden, but contributors, as people who are contributing to the economy of the hosting countries. And then I think it's really important. And even the hosting government are also trying to see what can we benefit, or what aspects, what value refugees or displaced people that we are hosting in our country can bring in. And then I think the only thing that refugees can need is to have a tool in their hand that can enable them to be able to respond, to be able to show that they can do great things in the hosting country, and also the project that will benefit not just with refugees, but hosting communities as well. So I think those are the things that I can definitely share. And from my personal experience, honestly, I couldn't be able to join this meeting here if I couldn't be given an opportunity. And it's a war. Let me say it's a fight that you have to make sure you are self-resilience. You have to look for ways whenever, like, things are not available. They're not, you can't see it with your eyes, but you have to be creative in order to access remote programs, education programs, trainings that are available there, and you are eligible for that. But because of some threats, some challenges that we are facing, you are not able to access those opportunities. And I myself am now able to pursue my education and now continuing with my graduate schools, because I'm able to, just having access to little energy and able to share my experience with other people. And what about the rest of the community, women and other young people who are there? They look for opportunities, but the only thing, they can't get it, not because they're not qualified, but because there is no available tool around them to enable them to be able to access those opportunities and to drive to continue and develop themselves, even their communities. So I think it's really important to talk about the matter of energy and how it benefits both sides, the refugee community and the hosting countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, and very inspiring. And apologize, I was kicked out, and I'm living in Europe, in Germany right now, and something happened with my internet. And this is a perfect example. We can say, if you have opportunity, if you have everything, but if you don't have access to access these opportunities, how you become excluded. Thank you so much for sharing. So we have Makunde, finally she able to join. Makunde, are you here with me? Can you unmute yourself? And we are super happy. And we were talking about defining what is energy and what's the challenges of energy in displacement. And we would like to know, because you are in Konkuma camp right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so how you think how we can make more challenges, especially with when it's come to refugee women communities, and you are becoming, so how you can define which solution you really see is there to gain access to electricity and cleaning, cooking, or especially which make refugee women participation more difficult. So how we can make sure these challenges we understand and to bring them, convert them into the solution. If we could hear from your side.
Thank you for the floor. I'm Kundes Kitu, Congolese by nationality, by age 24. I'm a refugee in Kakuma camp, especially in Kenya. The challenge which I can say that people are facing due to the electricity in this camp. The challenge number one is that you'll find the building on which people they are living. Even if you can bring this electricity inside of it, most of the people you find are out of 100%, like 40% is having good building where you can come and install this steamer inside or this Kenya power inside. And the rest, they are still living in these tents where you cannot come and install the power Kenya inside. If you try to install it inside, for example, it may cause, or it may bring an accident to the community. So what now can we do so that we can solve it? Most of the people you find that now they are working and doing their own best so that they can get good building where they can start earning this Kenya power and start using it in their house. Because when you have this Kenya power inside or this electricity inside the house, everything is good and every everything is open to you because you will be able to cook, you'll be able even to charge your phone. And if you charge your phone, if you have electricity inside your phone, you may even search for a online work and you will earn your life due to this electricity which you have. Because let me say thank you God, because we people who are having now electricity in our house, who are using this Kenya Power, we can say that we are trying to do our best, because even I can communicate with the outside people. Even I can even apply online. I can even do my things due to the knowledge which I have already. Then I will even advertise and I'll get customers. Even if I'm a refugee, but using this Kenya Power, this electricity which I have, it is totally opening the good door to me, so that I can see how can I plan my life, even if I am still a refugee, but I need to learn even online, getting education. Due to the Kenya Power which we are having, I will access. I will not say that I am missing electricity so that I cannot use, or so that I cannot attend any meeting or any training which is going online. So I could also, as a requirement, say that for other people who are not now having this Kenya Power nowadays, they are missing a lot of things as my community, as my comrade, because if I can try to compare the level which I have already and the skills which my neighbors or my community are missing, I can say that they are still so far with their life, because they are not using some things which should help them. They are missing a lot of opportunities which should help them in their life, because no one knows how will we go tomorrow, what our future is planning us to do. But with the small training which we are getting, even online, using our phone, even if we don't have computers, but on using only our phone, I think that we are earning a lot of things due to the Kenya Power which we are having. The second challenge which we are having to this Kenya Power is that I think that people, they should even increase some generators, so that we could, this Kenya Power could be very strong, yes. And due to these people are having some fridges, even if they can connect all fridges, but even the people who are having this, who are using only it for their home, they should also benefit it. I mean not by saying this, let me explain it very shortly. I want only to say that the Kenya Power which we are having really is good and it's very powerful. But having like one generator is not enough, because the one leg or one finger cannot keep the loud. It needs to have a supporter. When this one will have problem, they have the second, the plan B, which will totally immediately replace it. So I can also ask the organization if it could be possible to keep bringing new materials, which will try to put this power or this electricity of this Kenya Power to be very strongest, because the community really are enjoying of it. As refugees, we are benefiting, we are beneficiaries of it. Even the host community also, they are beneficiating, they are getting some benefits on it. How can I say that they are getting some benefits on it? For example, for me, I am in a computer training center where we are teaching computer. In that computer training center, we have both youth, both refugees and both hosts of the Kenyans. All of us, we are there, and all of us, we are earning something from it. In the case with all this Kenya Power is there, I think every lesson is going well, and everyone, both community and both refugees, we are enjoying our life, and we are seeing that these people who are supporting this Kenya Power, they are doing good work. If this Kenya Power should not be there, meaning our life should be very down, very down. Even it seems that even this meeting I could not join it, because how could I not, because I could be sleeping on inside the house and living in the dark without knowing anything. If I could access online, I could go on Zoom and I could go on desert and get something. You guys, you are doing good things, because we refugees, we are getting good things to this electricity, because in this life, no electricity, no water, meaning there is no life. But in the way that we have water, we have electricity, really we are enjoying our life. Thank you for the floor.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Maganda. I really, like to rephrase that, said no electricity, no life. and this is happening, how we can lead. And you talk about solution already, and I would like to take on as to all my panelists, and I would like to know, now we are talking about, yes, energy is important because it's one of the main component of our life. We can't make people excluded based off lack of access to the energy. So what do you think when we are talking about solution, when we are talking about more to bring sustainability in terms of energy? So what do you think, how we can understand refugee-led or in displacement people who are affecting this community, in displacement people or IDPs or migrant or refugees, especially women? What kind of solution we can build, and how we can make sure when we are building this solution, refugee led or people of these communities who we are targeting, they have the ownership, they lead, they drive the seat. So how we make sure this all solution come from themselves? So I will start with Peter, and then will I go to Iman, and then Joel, I will come to you, and then Mukunde, I will come to you. So Peter, if you could share the ownership, how we can make sure these refugees solutions coming from themselves, and they are taking the lead in implementing this solution.
And how can we develop them challenges? Okay. Once again, thank you. As we are talking about the solutions, according to my experience as a refugees here, we are being put at the remote areas where there is some deforestation, where have been taken, there is no trees. Our place looks like a desert. We don't have access to trees. Our women are facing very many challenges here to maybe to get a firewood or what. So since GIZ has come to support us here, we are now able to get like cooking stoves, those modern cooking stoves, which is durable and also can contain a lot of heat. Our women are now cooking a good food, clean food. So we are coming to the aspect, to the respect and the respect and the leverage of the refugees and the IDP skills knowledge through capacity building trainings. So those one through capacity buildings, involvement of the refugees and the leadership in energy promotions. Those one also can encourage us offering skills to the refugees and the host energy promotions like environmental conservations, which should be done also to upgrade what the climate change. Conducting energy-related survey to identify the most common issues in relations to energy. So like here, as I say, our place is not all that. We don't have trees. Our trees is just what we got here. We got just small trees where we got at the at the place where we have. So it is very difficult even for us here, like it is now blowing even. No, nothing like a tree to obstruct the wind. So at times when it is like this one is in our place, it now looks like a dry seasons. So when winds comes, it blow off our houses. So if it is possible, should be the trains should be open to the refugees and the host community to also to plant maybe more trees within the within the area where we are, so that also it will obstruct the winds. I think since we have come here as a refugees in this place here, we have made a lot of changes in this place now. We have planted some trees which has been given for us with the organizations. It's doing well. Even when you reach to my kiosk also I have already sensed. When you come there, you cannot go that this place is maybe constructed within. You thought that we got it from here because of the trees where I have planted my place there. So it's now good, like people will admire. They said, okay, it is a good move. So through the supports where the organization they are given for us. So really, I really appreciated what GIZ has done to me, as also changed my life. For the first time for me to connect online like this, we have a power. Before we don't have a power, so it is very difficult. When the computer, it is very difficult to search. So since we have a power, it is really, I really appreciate it. We have now online with you, to join you as we are now talking. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Malia, for your insights. I will go to Iman and I will ask the same question to her. So we are talking about this building solution. So how can we really need to learn from the challenges you are facing and to make solution based on your experience in your own context of internal displaced people or communities who are facing these challenges? So Iman, please, we'd like to hear from you.
I will take a moment to translate the question and then come back. بتقول لك تذكري التحديات اللي بيواجهوها الناس، مثلا تذكري حق البترول وحق البترول مناسبة، بعدين تقول انه جت الحاجة الى استخدام الطاقة البديلة، تمام. بعدين بتقول لك جيبي حلول لهذه التحديات، تقولي الحلول انه ننشأ الطاقة البديلة ونستخدم المصادر كذا، وكتم يعني كدور لملكية انه المجتمع المضيف ساعد في عمل
بالنسبة للحلول التحديات والحلول الملكية، هي أول شيء مشاركة المجتمع للنازحين واللاجئين في إنشاء طاقة بديلة مثل محطة صديقات البيئة مثلا في مكان النزوح.
Of course, the main challenges that face the IDP communities in Abs district is, first of all, the high inflation and rate of the fuel there, where the lack of fuel and the high prices of the fuel led to the limited resource or reach to these source of energies. So one of the solutions is to use the alternative and safe and clean energy, which is the solar energy, in providing the source of energy instead of using fossil fuel. The other solutions into how the community or the beneficiaries themselves, the IDPs, have ownership for this this project or this energy is that the community or the host community and the IDPs both have a clear understanding on the importance of such energy due to the lack of other sources of energy. So the support of the community, host community and the IDP communities in seeking out the alternative sources and using them led to the initiative of the project itself.
كما جاءت أغلى الأسعار المشتقات النفطية تمام. كما أن الطاقة لها مرونة وقابلية في أي مكان وفي أي تغير مع الجو البيئي.
Yes, and as she mentioned that the clean energy, which is the solar energy, is very flexible and safe, clean and free, and accessible to all community members in IDP members also.
من الواجب من المجتمع المضيف والمنظمات الإنسانية والخدمية أن يتيحوا فرص منح وبناء قدرات لهؤلاء الناس لخلق فرص وأعمال أخرى.
And one of the solutions also to sustain these energies is that to approach on an advocacy approach where we advocate the NGOs and the humanitarian aiders and the private sectors to support such initiative in order to provide clean and sustainable energy, and to support these communities, especially the IDP communities, which have a dire need to these energies.
طبعا محطة صديقات البيئة هي مشاركة في الاستفادة كاستفادة للشركات واستفادة كذلك للمجتمع للإضاءة وأشغالهم اليدوية.
Yes, the solar initiative that the plant provides provided a source of energy to all parties in the communities, not just IDPs, but how to empower IDPs into supporting the community itself rather than waiting for the community to be supported by them. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Shukran, Iman. Thank you so much. Indeed, you already, mentioned partly my next question, which is about how we make sure when we are creating this humanity-based approach led by affected people. And the next question, I will go to Joel, to you. And I would like to know, where should the humanitarian community focus in terms of supporting refugees or IDPs led initiative? What we need from them when we are creating this solution? And in your experience, what do you think there is a really room of improvement, and how these communities, how these solution can become a collaborative environment? So over to you.
Thank you so much. Basically, I think one thing that the humanitarian community, as well as other people who are, working towards supporting refugee and displaced people, I think one thing is to shift the focus from assumption and theory to the reality, because I think if people have to consider what is happening and where are we heading, it's something that will give us a better understanding on how to support refugees and how to work together with refugees to address challenges that they're facing, especially coming to access to energy. And I think one of the key things is where the positionality of refugees, where refugees are put or considered, and how they are really considered. I think it's time for people or humanitarian actors to start considering refugees as key player in the displacement response, because if refugees can only be considered as beneficiaries, I think there'll be thousands of projects that will keep on taking place and collapse, because there is no aspect of the contribution of refugees, what suits them well, what kind of projects. And since the reality or the context of displacement is totally different from one place to the other, it's really important to have a better approach, a good study of the place and what kind of response can really be effective to coming to the reality of that context. And I will also encourage humanitarian actors and other organizations to also consider absorbing refugees. I mean, utilizing the human capacity that is available, because refugees, they have a lot to offer, only if they can be given an opportunity. And I think that's the only thing that they need, opportunity to work. Because sometimes I wonder how other organizations, let me say private sector, can really push employment of refugees if UNHCR itself is not able to employ refugees. I think that's critical thing that people have to, question that people have to think and think about. I think it's really important to give young people, refugees, places or opportunities to work, to contribute to both designing of project and implementation, monitoring and evaluation also of projects, because most of the time refugees are left behind after conducting a certain research, having access to certain data. They don't know what is the outcome, what is the project that was built, or what kind of project that will come from what they have shared. It's really important to step out of considering refugees as the end user on that side, and trying to bring refugees on the table and give them the opportunity to share. What about having such kind of discussion like frequently, so that people can hear more from refugees? What about giving refugees an opportunity to access or to participate to high-level dialogues with donors, with policymakers, because that's where they can that's the only way refugees can be able to let me say, to also share their raw information, raw experience, because you'll just agree with me and my fellow panelists that most of the time stories that are collected and shared are somehow different from the reality. People shape stories based on their interests, based on the agenda that they're trying to push. But what about giving refugees this kind of opportunity and beyond such kind of discussion, so that people can hear more from refugees and their recommendation as well to push, to support initiatives as well as energy projects that can take place in displacement settings. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you so much. We are refugee. We are not only passive receiver. We are co-builder, co-designer. It's very important message you just deliver. We are hardly in a last moment or of this discussion. I would go to Mukunde, to you, and I would like to know, we are highlighting already the solution, the challenges, but how we can make sure intersectional lens is very important, because communities, refugee, IDPs, they are human beings, they are women, they are children, they are disabled people, they are elderly people. So how we are creating this solution, so how we can bring this energy-based solution as a sustainable health to this community, how we can make sure we know the different setting of urban, rural, and their intersectional need, which they are living in. So what's your suggestion or recommendation, especially for high-level official meeting, which we're gonna start onwards for tomorrow? So what's your suggestion for them? What they need to keep in mind when they are setting the agenda or recommendation?
Yes. What I can say is that as we are refugees in this camp, we are from a lot of countrysides. Most of the people which you will find, they just come from different countries. And everyone is having this challenge in the health. Everyone, he will tell you that I have this challenge and they don't like to access a lot of organizations, so that they may ask me a lot of questions. But if you try to look in deep of what he's telling you and what you are saying is totally very different, because you will see in him, most of the time, he's having a lot of challenges which he doesn't like to share with other people due to the stresses which he got from the past. But what I may try to say in this time is that if it could be very possible to open the door to the refugees also to start expressing for themselves, to have to go like using survey, which people most of the time used to do through survey, and people from GIZ may go and start asking people what are the challenges I'm getting, and everyone will feel free to start telling him, I have this problem, I have this problem, I have this problem. So due to the energy, you can try to do this through survey. I'm sure that we will get the problem which is going in the community, because we found everyone in his home, and you yourself, even if you reach there, you get the message, even he did not share anything to you, but reaching at the place of that refugees or that was to get what the problem is going there. And to solve also this problem, I think that what the refugees we should be provided also are a lot of skills, because most of the time you get that someone just come in his country but he doesn't know how to use or what is the use of the skills or the use of the education. Once he just reached in this camp, he just found that he's already in the end of the life, meaning that he cannot do anything. He's already nothing in the world, but let them learn that there is something which is still there, even if we are refugees, but life is still asking us to do something so that we may go and so that we may work and so that we may also try to help the generation which is still coming. And the issue of this, let me say, the issue of the power. How should I now happen to resolve this issue of the power? Because most of the time you find some of the people, they doesn't have this Kenya power in the house, and which is totally very needed in the life of the human being, so that it should have the Kenya power inside the house. Let them learn how to use this Kenya power. Let them learn what is the importance of this Kenya power. And I think if they learn what is the importance of this Kenya power, whenever they will see someone who's coming and tell them that, can we store the Kenya power inside your house, they will not refuse. And even themselves, they will do their best so that they may build a good house and bring this Kenya power inside. And like me, I'm a refugee from Kalbe, Kakuma especially, where people you will find most of the people now we have already steamer or Kenya power in village 1. And they did not send this Kenya power in village 2 and village 3 due to the issue that the people were still in the bad house where they could not install this steamer. But nowadays, now people, they are taking to UNHCR now because more in this village 2 and village 3 where the steamer is not, the Kenya power is not there. Now some of the people, they have now good house. They now try to see how these people now already, who has already good house, so that how can now access to this Kenya power so that they may also start enjoying their life, start also earning online, meeting, online education, online jobs, also that we are still refugees, really.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Makinde. I'm afraid we are out of time. Would like to, but I would let's say this is a starting point. As a refugee-led representative, we really want to reconnect, rephrase, and rethink all the energies talking about, because future, especially in the climate change, no one knows who will become a displaced person. So we want to make sure we are thinking about humanity first. So Thomas, back to you, and I would like to say a huge thanks to all my panelists, and we would look to say further discussion. As I said, it is a starting point. Thank you so much, and Thomas, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Anila. It was such a rich discussion. I really don't know where to start here. We heard Iman was talking about the gender dimension. We heard a lot about ownership. We heard Joelle saying refugees are not just the end users, they want to be co-creator. We heard Mukunde saying very bluntly, no electricity, no life. And we heard Malia saying, making the link to the environment, and also saying how important it is to keep the trees to avoid desertification and the problems of wind and all of this. So thank you all very much. I want to make thank you, big applause to all of you, especially Anila, obviously, for guiding us so wonderfully through the session, but also most importantly to our dear panelists, Iman, Joelle, Malia, Mukundi, and also to the organizations that supported the panelists. And just for you to give you a little bit of background here, Iman, for example, drove for more than an hour from the front line to take part in this meeting today. So really, really thank you for all your efforts you put in. And this is such an important topic for all of us. And we also saw a lively discussion in the chat. So you can count on us. We will take this further. We will also take the key messages to the meeting tomorrow. And if I may close with basically turning Mukunde's sentence around, when there's electricity, there's life. And with that happy note, thank you all. And here you can see all our contact details. Do reach out to us if you have any further additions or ideas how to include refugees also in the future. We are there to help. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.